Welcome to Live Life with Sean. I'm your host, Sean Higgins. I'm a lifelong information security technology expert with a passion for speaking, coaching, and writing. In this podcast, I'm going to introduce a topic, then I'm going to talk about my thoughts on that topic, what it means to me, my struggles, my successes, and what I've done to work through this topic. At the end of each episode, I'm going to offer you a tool to help you work through what you might be coming up for you. This show is recorded live, and you are invited to add your questions to the discussion. And if I do not get to your questions during the show, I will do my best to answer them on my blog. If you enjoy this content, please share it, subscribe it, like it, and/or leave a comment or question, as this will help others find this podcast. Thank you for joining me. Let's get going here. And this week, I really want to talk about, do your roles fit together? And last week, I started talking a bit about roles, the different roles that you have, but then we focused in on individual roles and see if you were really being you in that role, or if that role was restricting you from being who you are. So basically, what box are you in? Was it a box that you could grow into, or was the box restricting your growth? And this week, I'd like to again go back to roles, but see if the roles that you have for yourself are fitting together. Your roles should complement each other in times. They should work together so you can fulfill all the roles. And if they're not, then, do you need to make adjustments? Okay. For example, you know, let's just start with three simple roles. You're a parent, you're a spouse, you're an employee. Okay. And you have a job that makes you do a lot of travel and keeps you away from spending time with your family, spending time with your kids. Okay. That could have you in conflict with you as a parent versus you as an employee. And then, if they don't work together, what changes do you need to make? Excuse me. And sometimes, it could be that you have a couple of roles, and maybe you need to make some changes to your roles to make them work together. An example that I have that I learned a long time ago is, I wanted to spend time with my family, but I also wanted to keep in shape. And I used to, prior to getting married and having kids, I used to get up in the morning, go to work out, and then it was just me. So, that cycle worked for me. After I had kids, you got to, some of the things you have to do is you're running kids here and there. I had a son who was in lacrosse and hockey, and I'd be running them all over the place. And I didn't know from which day to the next I was doing something until I got home that evening, really, because, I wasn't really planning it, just kind of, okay, tomorrow we're going to do this, whatever. What I eventually realized is that if I want to work out, I'm going to have to change when I work out. So what I did was I decided to get up earlier in the morning and work out at the beginning of the day. Because I learned, and in doing that, what I realized is I controlled my morning. I could get up a little bit earlier, I could do my workout, get into my work, come home, and then do whatever I needed to do with the family. Because I enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed taking my son to hockey and lacrosse and, doing the things, spending time with him, even if it was just that drive to get to where we needed to go. And I still do that today. Is I get up early. As a matter of fact, I get up a lot earlier than I did way back then. Because again, I know that I control my morning. It's a nice peaceful time. Nobody else is up in the house. Nowadays, when I get up, first off, I walk the dogs because they kind of love that and expect it all the time. But that's okay. That's fine. It's part of my exercise routine. I come back and I spend a bit of time writing, because writing is something I do, which I share with you from time to time. And writing is also helps me clarify my thoughts and what I'm thinking. And if I'm struggling going through something, writing helps me get focused and move me forward. Writing helps me do things like figure out what I'm going to say on this podcast. And I love having that time to just do that. Then I get in a little bit of a workout. Um, and then nowadays, because of COVID, I jump into work. By that time, people are getting up in the house and they're off doing their thing to get ready to go out to their job because they have to go out. I don't have to, thankfully. I find time for a shower and then I really continue on my workday for the rest of the day. But it's very important for me to take that time in the morning. So, when you're looking at what you're doing and your roles and the things that you want to get accomplished, do you need to make adjustments, move some things around so that you can fulfill all the roles that you want to fulfill everything that you want to do, and to make things move easier? I mean, I tried to work out between all the different things that happened after work, but it just, because it was okay. This week we got practice on Tuesday, game on Thursday. Next week it's Monday and Wednesday, and it just was just too much for me just to try and figure my workouts in there because there was always something that came up after work or work went a little longer or whatever. Again, finding that morning time just for me worked out great. Another thing to consider is, if you want to spend more time with your family, do you need to add a role? Okay. Do you need to add a role to what you're doing? If your roles are basically parent, spouse, employee, okay, and you want to spend more time with your kids, do you need to add a role in here? Like for me, what I did is, and I enjoyed this, is I was a coach. And not a coach as in coaching people to make them better. I was a sports coach. I coached my son's lacrosse team. I coached my daughter's softball games. It gave me time to spend time with them. I enjoyed coaching as well. But see, now I have blended a role of being a parent and spending time with my kids by adding a role of being a coach. Now you can say, "Oh, that's crazy," but I work so much, and how am I going to make all this fit together? Well, at that point, you want to start looking at your job and saying, "Okay, does my job allow me to do this?" And it may not, and maybe you need to make an adjustment there. But just step back for a second, and what do you want? Are you clear in what you want? And it was pretty interesting. I have a job that it sometimes would have me traveling, at sometimes would have me working late, would have me getting calls in the middle of the night. And I enjoyed that job. I'm not complaining about it. I like to travel because I got to go meet people and be places. And I got to go some interesting places. I also got calls at various times of the night, but I also was clear that I wanted to coach, and I wanted my job and the coaching to fit together. Now, I'll probably have to do another podcast on this, but part of what I did is I set an intention. This is kind of like the secret. Ask for what you want, okay, and then let the universe line up to give you what you want, okay? I didn't want to give up my job. I liked my job, and I wanted to coach. So at the beginning of the season, I sat down, I did a little meditation, and I asked for time so I could be a coach. And I don't remember all the times I did this, but I do remember, the last few seasons of softball that I coached my daughter, and I think in the last every year, the last couple of years, I think I only missed 1 or 2 games because of work per season. Okay. And if you know what my work is like, okay, It can be very crazy. It can be quiet, a lot more crazy than quiet, but there was an alignment, okay, between my job and the coaching. And it's not that I cut back on what I was doing at work. It's just that the projects seemed to align themselves so that I was in town when I needed to be in town. Didn't have issues when when I had to do some coaching. I think there were a couple of close calls where I was on the phone up until the first pitch was thrown and then was on the phone, right after, but I was able to do the coaching. So part of looking at your roles is, are the roles what you want them to be? And, because that could be causing some of your friction in there. Maybe, let's take a look at a job. Are you doing the job that you want to do? Are you settling for a job? And there's no right or wrong answer here. It's just to get you to think. And, the example that comes to me a lot of times is, if you look at a company and you want to consider who's at the top as the CEO, who's at the bottom, it's probably the janitor, guy who cleans up after everybody at the end of the day. And people will have different aspirations. Maybe the janitor loves being a janitor because of the flexibility it allows him to do other things. Maybe he doesn't want the other responsibility in his job because he's got other responsibilities outside of the job that are more fulfilling to him. Maybe he's got a family and it allows him to coach. Maybe it allows him to volunteer, or maybe it allows him to take care of his sick mother. Who knows? But look at your roles, see if they fit in with the other roles that you want to play in your life. And if they conflict, are there some changes you need to make? Do you need to change jobs? If your job has you on the road all the time, you never have time with your spouse or your family, is it time for you to consider changing that job? No right or wrong, no judgment here, okay? But think about that. What is important to you in each of the roles? Is the travel that important in your job that's going to keep you from spending time with your kids and your wife? Or can you look at the aspect of your job and say, okay, I like these aspects of my job. If I look at myself, in my job, I dealt with technology all the time. I love dealing with clients. I love solving their problems. Okay. The travel I enjoyed because I like going to places, and I didn't want it to take up all my time. I did it when it came, and thankfully my job was kind of like lots of travel, no travel, lots of travel, no travel. So it balanced out. Okay. And, I found a way to make it work with my family. Thankfully it worked out well with my family. I mean, when my daughter was young, I used to read to her every time she went to bed. Okay. So, when I would travel, as I was packing to go, what she would do is she would pack a book and I would Skype them at the end of my day and I would read from the book to her. Okay, so I was able to continue that commitment to her and we both enjoyed it. Was it great? No, but it was better than, me giving up my job that I liked. To travel was an inconvenience, for me spending time with my daughter, but we found a way to make it work together, to make it connect. So again, if you want to spend more time with your kids, are there things you can do while you're traveling to make that connection? We've got all these different Zoom calls and Teams calls and other FaceTime and all these things. Can you use those two together? Maybe when you're traveling at the end of your day, you go for a walk and say, hey, look at where I am. Take it to share in your experience. And again, just step back and take a look at the roles that you're playing in your life and take an inventory of each role and say, what do you like and what do you need to change? Maybe you're like me. Okay, there's not a lot of people like me, thankfully, but I love the technology. I love learning new stuff. I love playing with technology. I love dealing with customers and I love solving their problems. Okay. And that's what was important to my job. And it was helpful that I was able to do that job in the company that I'm working for and have it integrate with me being a parent, me being a spouse, and also allowing me to add on things that added value to me and my family, like coaching. I thoroughly enjoyed coaching my daughter's teams, coaching my son's teams. I'm not going to say I'm the greatest coach ever, but I had fun. Okay. Yeah. I just thinking about some of those memories, especially with softball and everybody kind of me cheering the team on. I had fun. Okay. That's all I can say. Um, but really step back, take a look at those roles and say, okay, I like being a parent, but make it work, or do I need to look for a different job? Do I need to look for a different role? Maybe I love the company, but maybe I need to look at a different role. Maybe the role is shift work and you don't like the shift work. Maybe the role it's too many hours. What if, just throwing things out here for you to consider, what if you need to work those extra hours, but you're able to block off time, say from 6 to 8 p.m., when you can spend time with your family and then picking up your job for another couple hours afterwards. It might be something you need to negotiate with your boss. See if it is possible. Maybe you need to find a new job. I don't know. What I want you to really do is to take a look at the roles you're doing, take a bit of an inventory of each role, okay? Do the roles fit together? Does your job fit with you being a spouse, fit with you being a parent, fit with you being a volunteer, fit with you being a coach, fit with you being a troop leader like Boy Scouts or Brownies or Girl Scouts or whatever? Do they fit together? And it doesn't mean they need to fit together perfectly all the time, okay? I know there are certain times of the year when work for me goes up and there's a lot of extra work going on and I work extra hours and it may take away from some of those times in my other areas. And there are also times when the work level goes down. It gives me a little bit of extra free time. Understand what the balance is for you. Understand there's going to be ebbs and flows, but see, do they work together for you? And what I'd like to do right now is just to kind of wrap it up and just take a look at your roles right now. And what I'd like you to do is take a look at two roles that just kind of don't fit together right now. Okay. Again, maybe we'll go back to the example I've been using this whole evening here is taking a look at your role as an employee, and let's take a look at your role as a parent. If there's a bit of friction between them, let's take a look at it, okay? Or whatever too, okay? Maybe there's a friction between you being a spouse and you being a parent. Okay, let's just take a look at them, okay? Pick two, any two, and start by taking a deep breath in. Let it out. Start to relax. Start to feel yourself right here and now. Take another deep breath in. Let it out. Start to feel yourself settle into your chair. Have your feet flat on the ground and let your palms rest gently in your lap. Take another deep breath in. And as you let this out, gently close your eyes. Good. Keep breathing here. Know any thoughts, worries, concerns, about any of this role stuff we talked about? What I'd like you to do is to drop it for right now and just pull your attention right into the center of your head. Any thoughts, worries, concerns you have about the past? Just gently pull your attention right here and now. So you can be right here in the center of your head. Good job. Keep breathing. Good. Breathe. Okay. Now I'd like you to focus your attention at the base of your spine where your root chakra is, and just imagine a grounding cord connecting the base of your spine all the way down to the center of the earth. And this can be like a tree trunk extending its roots or a waterfall gently falling. And just make sure this grounding cord is as wide or wider than your hips. Make sure it's really connected into your hips and really connected in to the center of the earth. Feel that gentle pull. Feel the pull of Mother Earth on your body. Let that pull help you release any stuck energies you have in your space right here and now. Bring yourself back to the center of your head. And just breathe. Good job. Good job. Now imagine you've got a movie screen out in front of you. Okay? And let's take your two roles that you want to look at and put them up on the screen. Notice what they look like. They may be an actual representation of the role, or they may be an object that kind of looks like the role. And whatever it is right for you. And just bring them close together and notice how they fit together. They may fit, they may not. In this case, they probably don't fit too well together. Okay, we wanted to look at something that doesn't quite fit. All right, so now what I'd like you to do is to take a look at the roll on the left. Just pull it over a little bit on the left and see if there's any adjustments you can make to that roll. And as you're making those adjustments, see if you get a sense for what those adjustments are. Is it a change in how you show up in that role? Is it a change in how you do that role? Okay, just leave it there for a moment. Now let's take a look at the role on the right side. And again, just pull it over to the right a little bit and take a look at that role and see if there's any changes you need to make to that role. And just hold it there for a moment. You know, do you need to show up differently in that role? Do you need to change that role a bit? Do you need to change the definition of that role? Just notice it. Notice the information that you're getting back. Now step back, look at the two roles up on that screen. Not if you've adjusted how you show up in that role, in each role, maybe adjusted the definitions of those role. What I'd like you to notice is if there is a third role that shows up. Maybe something that will bridge the two roles. Maybe something that will help make them fit together better. And if a third role doesn't show up, that's okay. Just hold it there for a moment. And if you get a third role, what information do you get about that role? You may not get all the answers. You may just get a sense for what that role is. And now, whether you've got 2 or 3 roles, bring the roles together and notice how well they fit. And what I'd like you to do is take those 3 roles, 2 or 3 roles that fit together, and just invite them into your energy space. Because this is you playing those roles, so just invite them in. Absorb that energy, that information about the roles. And let's bring in some golden energy from above. This golden energy will come in through the top of your head and work in and through your body and help you integrate this information into you. Let this golden energy fill up your entire body. Let it overflow and go down your grounding cord. Just feel those roles integrating into who you are. Keep breathing. Let the roles integrate. Let this information sit with you. Take a deep breath in. Let it out. Take a deep breath in. And as you let this one out, gently open your eyes. Start to feel yourself come back into your body, into your room, and just keep breathing. You may want to take out a piece of paper and write down any information that you received. If you didn't receive any information, that's fine. It may take a little while to show up. Sometimes that happens for me too. Probably in the shower tomorrow morning, I'll get a burst of information. No place to write it down, okay? But just breathe and sit with it for a little bit. Thank you for joining me on Live Life with Sean. If you would like to book a coaching session with me or want me to speak at your next event, please find Connect with Sean link on my website at SeanCHiggins.com. If you enjoyed this show, please share it, subscribe it, like it, and/or leave a comment or question, as this will help others find this podcast. I hope you enjoyed the information that I shared tonight. And until next week, please have a wonderful week.